Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Odd Tandem. The Odd Tandem is a brand new name for our podcast, and you may know us by another name, so we just want to say thank you to Velo for a great 3 years of support. We've seen many messages that you guys have sent us over the last couple months since our final episode in February. We're really sorry that we couldn't get up and running again so quickly, but honestly, we needed a little break as well, Yenzi, right?
We did, yes, and we actually did give it a quite serious consideration about whether we gonna come back. If we want to come back, we can come back, how we come back, and would it work, and if it's the right decision to come back or not.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I mean, something as little as changing a name took us very, very long time, and there's a lot of stuff to think about when starting a podcast. Yeah, this is new. Like we're winging this. We're on our own now.
So we still gonna have the same great podcast like you folks used to know it. 1 weekly episode we will have. Plus you will get a bonus 2 podcasts per month where we actually just answer your questions. So you get more to know about Bobby and me, about our experience, about our stories. On top of that, we are launching a Patreon where you can join for $5 and you will get a little bit more bits and pieces from our podcast.
And, you know, although this tandem bicycle is built for 2, the Odd Tandem community is built for everyone. And we've included some very special people in building this new podcast. We have Taylor Finney, who has done the soundtrack for us. Everybody knows Taylor. We're big fans of Taylor. And by the way, congratulations, Taylor, on the marriage to Kasia Niewiadoma. And Jim Dwyer, who used to make the GCN race images. He's done our pod art. So, you know, we're trying to engage as many people in cycling into this, and including some great guests. So we're going to be starting from scratch, and hang with us. We're going to have a great ride. But, you know, don't worry. We're going to have the same sort of great interviews. They're going to go nowhere. We're going to add some little bits and bobs here and there, maybe even an extra segment during the week. So let's get this first episode of the Odd Tandem started with our U.S. road champion, Sean Quinn. All right. Welcome, Sean Quinn, to the Odd Tandem. Sean, how you doing, man?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys. Fan of the podcast, and yeah, really happy to be on. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, well, if you haven't noticed, we've changed our name. The Odd Tandem is a community built for everyone, and our first guest is you. Sean, tell us a little bit about what it means to you to be national road champion.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty big honor. It's a good achievement. I think the coolest part is being able to represent the country, even when you're racing for your trade team. So you get to wear the jersey for the whole year. And yeah, it was also really special. When I was a junior, I think nationals was always one of the biggest races, but I never was able to win. And so, yeah, to finally win as a pro was even extra special. And yeah, it's not necessarily a crazy achievement, but to me, it's really cool being able to race in the jersey and yeah, represent my country every day when I go out training. So yeah, super happy with it.
And is it true that the American champion, the rider himself, has a word to say about the design of it? Because for us in Germany, it's standard. It has to be white and the 3 colors as a chest or on the chest, but that's about it. You cannot change anything. How is it for you guys? Is it true that you can change the design?
I think there's a rule that you have to have the blue with the stars on the shoulders and then the rest red and white stripes. But I don't know, EF's pretty artsy sometimes, and they did a pretty interesting design. I don't really get a say in it. Maybe I will next year, like for 2025. But yeah, I'm happy with the design. It's not super standard like the German kit. So yeah, it's got some cool prints that if you're up close, you can see. So it's nice.
Well, hey man, I mean, I'm jealous, number one, because I was never national champion as a pro. Um, I think my last national champion kit was like 16, 17 cyclocross, and
Sweet.
I would trade 20 of those in to be able to wear the stars and stripes in the pro peloton. So good on you. But talk us a little bit through that race, because I mean, you were in the breakaway with Nielsen and your old buddy Mr. McNulty, and you guys worked him over pretty good. But you know, what were the tactics like? Was it? I was under the impression that you guys didn't have radios, but then I saw some social media that you guys did actually have radio contact. Talk us through, like, once you guys got away and you guys were tag teaming poor Brandon there. What actually happened? How did it come down to the final outcome there?
Yeah, so we did have radios. We had the women's director, Carmen Small, in the car, and she was helping us. But to be honest, there's not a ton to say when it's just the two of us. And we went in with the plan. It was like, yeah, just kind of make the race hard, jump in moves, and eventually it's going to end up the two of us and Brandon. And it happened that way. There was this other guy, domestic pro there, Scott McGill, for a while, and he hung pretty well. But yeah, the last 2 or 3 laps, it was just the two of us. And yeah, we talked it over before, and we were like, yeah, on the flat part, we just have to take turns tag teaming him. And yeah, it's basically the math just worked out that he ended up in the win twice as much as either of us. So yeah, we're both super fresh. And then on the last lap, there are 2 climbs. I attacked on one, Nielsen attacked on the other, but props to Brandon. He was super strong. I mean, he rode us back time and time again. And then, yeah, once we got over all the climbs, I just backed my sprint and waited for the line. So
did it ever cross your mind that in a situation like that, if the single rider is not absolutely superior and can drop both of you, he then decides who will be champion? Because he goes, okay, I'm alone, they are 2. I can mess up one's chances, but I cannot mess up both of their chances. So I guess Brandon could decide, okay, I'm going to block him, and I hope it's the right choice for Brandon, or I'm going to sit on his wheel, hope this is the right choice. Did that ever cross your mind?
yeah, definitely. I mean, there are also ways we can fuck it up, you know? I mean, like every time I attacked, I was like, wow, I mean, now it's really just 1v1. And if he brings me back at the perfect time, then, you know, maybe he will beat Nielsen and I'll be completely smoked. So there are ways for him to win. And yeah, like you said, he does have a choice. And maybe that's the reason I'm national champ. Maybe he has some beef with Nielsen that I don't know about, but I don't think that's the case. I think he did his best to beat both of us, and he came super close.
So yeah, that just makes me think, like, what was your relationship with Brandon before the race, and has it changed since then?
No, we're buddies, and I don't think that race changed anything. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I mean, you almost feel bad sometimes just going 2 against 1 in a race like that. It's not exactly fair, but yeah, he's a good guy. We've been teammates since, or I guess we were teammates when we were juniors, and so I've known him for a long time. And I think, yeah, all the Americans in the World Tour peloton, we all know each other and get along pretty well. So.
And is it still every now and then one of these special moments when you like just go out training and you put on the national champion kit, you go, damn, this is cool. You know, like weeks or months after, you go, damn, I still love it. Do you still have these moments, or, well, it's just a kit I put on and go riding in races or training?
Yeah, I mean, it's only been, I guess, exactly about a month. So, I mean, I didn't even get the kit the day after. So it still feels pretty special to pull it on. We'll see. Ask me again in 11 months, but I can't see getting tired of it, to be honest. And yeah, change is always nice. And yeah, randomly you'll just be riding and look down and be like, oh yeah, that's sick. I'm representing the U.S. So
We have a couple junior national championships around the champions around the Greenville area. And it just seems like every ride or every event I see them at, they have like one more thing, socks, gloves, little stickers, stuff like that. What kind of other cool swag has popped into your ensemble, your riding ensemble, since you've become national champion?
Nothing yet. So
Oh man, I always swore if I was national champion, I'd get like Stars and Stripe boxers, sweatbands,
no, I'm still waiting for the package. We'll see when it comes. I don't know.
We'll get all Vodders. We'll text Vodders after this and make sure he hooks you up with something good.
Yeah. I haven't been chirping them at all. I believe they're doing it as fast as they can, but maybe I'm just being naive and they're just like, yeah, here's one jersey that should do for 12 months.
There will be more. So now that you won the nationals, that's one box ticked. Looking a little further into the future, and what type of rider you want to develop, or where do you see your future? You want to try GC in, I don't know, in the Dauphiné, in the Grand Tour, one-day races, the Hilly Classics, the Couplestone Classics, more time trialing. Where do you think you want to go with your national champion jersey now?
Yeah, well, I know I want to be a GC rider. At the end of the day, I don't know how far my talent's going to take me, but I'm willing to sacrifice, maybe being a better sprinter and being able to win some one-day races if I can at least try and become a Grand Tour rider. I'm still young, that I still have some time. Maybe I'm not that young for the sport anymore, but I think like I said, for me, it's worth it to just try and see. And I do think that's where my talents lie, in like the longer climbs and maybe one day time trialing. I still have a lot of work to do in both those categories, and just developing in general. But that's the racing I dream of, is the Grand Tours. That's what gets me on the bike every morning.
Talking about this great achievement, this achievement almost didn't happen because you were one of the riders that were involved in that very serious crash in Pays Basque. I read that you suffered a concussion and a sternum fracture. How did you pop up from that so well and be able to come back and win the national championships?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think I've talked about this with a few people, and when you have an injury like that, it's super hard, but it's pretty clear the path you have to take. It's like, all right, I need to do this rehab. I need to take this amount of time off. I need to, every day you just do, you just check the box, and you're not really training too much at first. And I found it was really easy to build up momentum from that injury. You go to such a rock bottom almost, and it's like you can't ride. I was supposed to do the Giro, so that's out the window, and I don't even know, can I ride? What's the extent of this fracture, etc. And when you're at such a low point, every step you just build a ton of momentum. And by the time I got back training, which luckily was super fast, I mean, I was just doing everything right, basically, in my opinion. And I just got momentum pretty quick, and then I didn't have a ton of expectations going into nationals. I mean, I knew I was riding super well, but racing's a whole different beast sometimes. But yeah, it didn't seem like that crazy to me to be competitive right away. And like I said, I think that's from the momentum of having such a low point.
So now you both mentioned or you talked about that crash in the Basque Country. And your teammate Nielsen Paulus, he was another bigger crash in the Dauphiné with also a lot of GC riders. Some of them are the same from the crash in the Basque Country. Do you think that's just a really weird coincidence, or did something change in the last 1 or 2 years in cycling? People riding harder, more aggressive, or was it just a really bizarre coincidence that we had two big crashes with a lot of GC contenders?
Whether it's the GC contenders crashing or anyone else crashing, I don't know. Maybe that's a coincidence, but I think we're going to see more and more big crashes. I hate to say it, but the way guys are racing, I mean, for guys who have been pro for 10, 15 years, I think they really see the change. For me, I'm pretty new. So I've been racing with a lot of these guys who are taking more risks, the young guys who are, pushing those limits even further. I've been racing with them since I was a junior. So it's not that new to me, but even 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I first turned pro, there was I don't know if respect is the right word, but there was a lot more. Yeah, it was just a lot more chill sometimes in the peloton. And we have these days now where, it's not even a super decisive GC day, but all the directors are saying, there's a narrow bridge coming or there's a technical descent coming. And every single team has they just have these riders who are like, all right, well, obviously we're going to be the first team into that. And I think all 20, 25 teams have the same goal. And it's just simple, we don't fit on the road. And so we're all riding, centimeters away from each other. And it's kind of bound to happen. Of course, at Dauphiné, the wet roads or slippery roads, that was an unfortunate situation. But I think you're always going to have that error from the environment or the course. And now we're just riding so close from 80 Ks out. We'll just be, completely blocked. Everyone's riding 15 wide the first 10 rows or something. And it is pretty crazy, but it's kind of what you have to do because flick or be flicked, Yeah,
if you're not moving up, you're moving back in the peloton. But so I had an interesting weekend last weekend. I was doing a gravel event and I wound up crashing and pretty hard. And I got a concussion. And on the side of the road, I took out my phone and I called my wife and passed the phone to Ben Rekema, who was one of the race promoters that was following us on a motorcycle. And then for some reason, I took that phone, pointed it at myself and kind of, I don't know if it was a coaching moment, a journal or whatnot, but I actually admitted to myself that, hey, I'm concussed right now. And I wound up sitting on the side of the road waiting for a SAG car to come pick me up and take me to the finish line for 45 minutes. And I don't remember any of that. But I made 6 videos basically saying the exact same thing to myself or to the camera. Then when I got in the car, which was a 30-minute drive that felt like 30 seconds, I made another 5 or 6 of basically the same video. So I was out of it. And I'm really glad that I did that for myself more than anything, because it really made me realize what you guys and girls are having to deal with along the side of the road after a crash. Can you explain a little bit about the concussion protocol, the questions that they ask you, or what they wait to see response-wise before you're allowed back on your bike? Because honestly, if I didn't make those videos, I wouldn't have remembered it. But looking back at those videos, if I was to get back on my bike, if I hadn't have crunched my collarbone in 4 places, I probably would have tried to get back on my bike, but it wouldn't have been safe.
Right. Yeah, I've never been in a race and had a crash and done the concussion protocol. So at Basque Country, it was like immediately clear to me. I stood up and my vision went blurry. And that was like, okay, I'm concussed, 100%. And then, of course, you go and do a protocol with the team doctor after the race, which I think I've done before in crashes, but I've never done with like the race doctor. I've heard you have to clear concussion protocol if you have a bad crash and hit your head. But I think the ruling there is pretty unclear. I know this guy, James Knox, who at Tour Down Under stopped, crashed, hit his head, and did the concussion protocol, but then he was like 20 minutes behind, so he got thrown out of the race for drafting an ambulance or something, which to me is ridiculous. It's like, okay, he's gonna do the concussion protocol because you say you have to, but then you're gonna throw him out of the race when he's 20 minutes back. So that didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand, because I would have had to have gone through that concussion protocol for at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And then if obviously you're not going to do that in a race. So, when we hear about this and when we see it, I just wonder if it's really helpful. Obviously, it's been a long time since I crashed. I think 2006 was the last time that I had a serious crash. So it was just reminded me of what you guys have to deal with. And I hope we can come up with a better way, because if you're going to do it right and you have to pace to get back on, that seems fair. But getting kicked out of the race or getting kicked out of the race for drafting doesn't sound right to me at all. But thanks for putting for explaining that a little bit, because obviously, when that happened to me, it was, that question came right to the front of my mind, and I'm glad that you were able to answer it.
Yeah, I think there are actually helmets or helmet sensors that will tell you like how hard your impact was. I think they use them in some other sports, and I always thought that could be interesting. I've seen some other riders talking about maybe having those on our helmets. That would probably help, but I don't see a lot of effort from the riders or the UCI to get that done. So
when earlier this year, I had a little meeting with Eurosport commentators at the UCI. They were trying to explain that a little bit to us as well. And they said what they want is that even the non-medical part of the team, the mechanics, the masseurs, get like at least a basic training. So if a rider cannot even walk straight, that they would then say, hey, look, why didn't you just sit down and wait, and I get the team doctor or the race doctor to you? They cannot stop you because they don't have the medical knowledge or the official medical title to say, hey, in my authority as a doctor, I make you stop. But you were pretty sure of after your crash, like, okay, I cannot walk straight, my vision is not good, I gotta be concussed. So that's fair enough for me, I guess, then.
Yeah, that's the first thing I said to someone when they came to check on me. It was like, hey, I have a concussion. So
it's good that you admitted that, because normally people just jump back on their bikes and they're off and running again. But other than this pressure to be in the front of the peloton and maybe misrepresent or be a little bit dishonest with a concussion, what other sort of pressures do you young riders have to deal with in the peloton nowadays? Because it just seems like a totally different sport when I'm watching it on TV and I'm reading things on the internet and social media. You guys definitely have a lot more to think about than we did, it seems.
I'm not sure about that actually, but you could be right. I mean, I think for most athletes, probably the biggest pressure is usually going to come from themselves. And so I think it's kind of different for everyone how much pressure they're putting on themselves. I think the one big difference with young riders now is probably you're expected to win. If you have the talent, you're expected to win basically from almost your first race. Or at least be competitive. And I think before there was a lot of, oh, we'll send you to this race so you can learn or so you can develop. And you see it with some guys, but yeah, if you're over 20 now, I think like it seems like you're coming in and you have a job to do, you know, which is good. But yeah, it will be interesting to see the effects of, you know, this generation. Are guys going to retire much earlier because they didn't have as much time to develop, and straight away it was like, okay, I'm going to, you know, racing GC at these massive World Tour races. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I can't speak on the difference in generations per se.
But one thing we touched on in former episodes is how much quicker or faster the nutrition part has developed. So now I think I've seen pictures and I heard rumors. People actually bring a scale to dinner and they weigh the slices of tomatoes. Is that true? And are you one of these poor young men have to do that? How does that feel? You have to weigh your food. Because back in my days, if somebody touched my food or made me weigh my food, I would offer them a proper beating. But that's the old days. You know, I'm not saying it was better or worse back then, just different. So how is it for you? Do you weigh your food and count your calories every day?
I would say most days. At a race, for sure, a lot of days. I've tried. See, the thing is, once you start, it's almost impossible to go back, and it's difficult to see other kids doing it or other riders doing it and then not do it yourself. Because if it is really helping, which I think science would say it is, you don't want to just be giving that up and say, okay, well, that guy's crazy, he's weighing his food. I'm sure people said that 3-4 years ago. That guy's crazy, he weighs every tomato. But now more and more guys start to do it, and all of a sudden the majority is weighing. For sure now the majority of guys in the peloton, they're weighing their food. And yeah, I mean, I feel like even if I skip one day, I'm like, well, like what am I losing on this day? Okay, I'm not maybe that extreme, and for sure, parts of the year, you can't do it every day. I'm sure there are some guys who do it every day, but I don't know how much that's helping them at that point. But yeah, it's getting pretty extreme. I think, yeah, also on the bike nutrition, it's just crazy, yeah, smashing through carbs and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. To go back a little bit, do not mess with Jens's food. I had him stay at my house a couple times, and man, that guy can knock it down. And then seeing personal portioned out, you know, pre-made little bowls for each rider, or weighing your food. It's got to be tough. But one of the things that I think really makes a difference, you know, we have all these data streams and we can weigh our food and we can have the faster bike or the more aerodynamic suit. I think one of the most important things for riders to have is confidence. And as we know, confidence is a very fickle thing, right? It can change, you know, from minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, month to month, season to season. What does being confident mean to you and how you race?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth. Sometimes I think, okay, this race is all physical, and at the end of the day, I either have it or I don't. And then I've gone through phases where I think like, oh, this sport is all mental. And like, if I go into a race with the confidence, I'll get it done, no problem. And you see that with the top guys, you know, like, yes, they probably are better than everyone else, but maybe not as much as we think, but they just consistently win. And so they have that confidence. Yeah, if I need to be in front at that point, I will be in front. They don't question themselves and they just get it done. And yeah, I think that's, I mean, you can't put a number on that metric, right? It's just something you have or you don't day to day. It comes and goes, which is interesting, and that's why you need momentum. But it is interesting with all these numbers, the weighing of the food, the power, the whatever. Everyone, I think the playing field, like there's not that much room for error if everyone's doing the perfect nutrition, if everyone has the perfect race suit, perfect bike, everything. It's gonna come down to whoever is the most talented and whoever is the most mentally strong, or like the most skilled cyclist, because there's going to be less room for error. So I don't know if that makes it more boring or more interesting, but
Well, I must say, as I'm commentating for Eurosport, cycling, I would say we live in a golden era of cycling. Cycling is so thrilling and exciting. With Team Sky, like let's say 10 years ago, they would just drill it on the front and nobody could even attack. Nowadays, people have 50, 60 kilometers solo attacks and they pull it off. So it's pretty interesting. Talking to confidence, I always used to tell myself, okay, I'm a very good rider. If I suffer, they gotta suffer twice as much. I just talked myself into it, that, okay, the only human, they must suffer as well. They just, not showing it. And I believe once or twice I won a race just because I wanted it more than the others. Not really because I was better. I had races of that as well, but sometimes I just wanted it more. But for you now, you're about the age range of Vingegaard, Pogacar, Evenepoel. How is it to race with them? I mean, I guess we must say they are superstars of our sport. How is it to have to race against them? Because, let's not fool ourselves. Something like an easy race doesn't exist anymore, right? In modern cycling, easy races, small races don't exist anymore. Everything is important. Everything is full gas. So how do you approach a day when you got whatever, Evenepoel and Vingegaard or Pogacar at the start? You go, I race for second, or you go, nah, I don't think like that. I go for the win.
yeah, I would say it depends on the race. Depends on like the course. Sometimes you probably should reframe your objectives. I'm sure a lot of guys who lined up at the Giro, if they were telling themselves, yeah, I'm going to win this Giro, like 100%, by day 5, when they were 10 minutes down to Pogacar, they probably, mentally folded. Whereas other guys who were like, yeah, all right, well, we're racing for second. Maybe they were just consistent the whole time and did well. But I think, a lot of days you have to believe that upsets do happen. And you see it sometimes. I mean, a guy like Pogacar has almost not lost this season, and that's pretty incredible. But on any given day, anyone can win. And I think most pro cyclists have that mentality that, I'm going to do my best. And on the day when everything falls my way, I will take that chance, because those chances don't come around too often in this sport, because, it's not one team wins, one team loses. It's one guy wins, 150 guys lose. So.
Yeah. Well, you said before we started recording that you're based out of Nice. What brought you to the Côte d'Azur? Because so many other riders from EF Education-EasyPost live in Girona. What was it that drew you to the south of France, which, I loved. I was based out of there. I couldn't have lived anywhere else either.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Girona for a little bit, and that was nice because the team was kind of based there. And I had quite a few friends there. I lived there as well when I was on a development team. And then when I turned pro, a lot of my friends left, went back to the States, stopped cycling, stuff like that. And so I started to feel like, all right, I've already done Girona a couple of years, might as well change it up. And my friend bought an apartment here, actually. He had lived here for a couple of years, Matteo Jorgensen. And he was like, yeah, my roommate's moving out, so want to come pay my mortgage basically, and so I'm living with him now.
No
and
way.
that's been fun.
Wow, that is totally awesome. I was gonna say, hey, do you see Pogacar around? But damn, you're roommates with Matteo. That's a pretty damn good person to look up to. That was kind of leading into my next question is, like you're an American living in the south of France. Obviously a very, very difficult sport, a very challenging sport. Who do you look up to? Who do you lean on to ask those questions that you don't know the answer to in the peloton? Is there some guy that is just like your buddy, your Jedi master?
Phew. I think I tend to not just like ask people for a ton of advice, and maybe it's not a good trait, but I like to see most guys as my rivals in the peloton, so I don't want to be like asking them questions and looking up to them. I want to be racing against them. But yeah, there are a few guys I'd say I look up to. I mean, Matteo, to me, it's obviously he's doing a lot better than I am right now, but we've always been kind of, we've grown up together. We were competitors, then we were teammates. And so he's not really like necessarily a role model. He's just like a friend. So I feel totally comfortable asking him questions, and he has helped me a lot. Guys I look up to be honest, it's more, I like the guys who carry themselves super well and are, not just machines on the bike. Like those guys can be cool, but sometimes the human side isn't there. So like a guy like Teo or Geraint Thomas, like, yeah, I would love to go get a beer with those guys. Whereas some of the guys who are winning right now, they don't seem super interesting to me necessarily. And maybe that's just me not seeing past the surface. But yeah, if your whole personality is weighing your tomatoes on the scale and then talking about all the races you've won, then no, I don't really need to hang out with you.
So that is a very good approach to it. And if you one day win the Tour de France, remember these words, and then you don't become one of them. You go, no, I never forget my roots. I never forget where I came from and my friends. That's a very good approach. You had last year, after the Vuelta, some interesting words. I can just quickly read it. You told the team, I was humbled with the level of the guys here. I know that I was on the stage against the best of the world, but I really thought I didn't have the physical form this year. So it was a good learning tool, a good experience, and it's a necessary step for my development, your first Grand Tour experience. What did you learn? What did you change over the last winter to learn from that painful experience at your first Grand Tour? How do you change your training after that?
Yeah, well, the difficult thing is sometimes you can't make drastic changes, and you kind of just have to let try and set everything up to do it as well as you can, but then you sometimes just have to let the system run for a while to catch up. I've always tried to think of the way you can, I don't know, make massive leaps overnight from like, yeah, if I lose 5 kilos, I'll be 10% better, but sometimes it doesn't work like that. And yeah, I've had to kind of be patient sometimes when, I didn't want to, Of course, I'd love to be competitive tomorrow, but maybe it's going to be 2 years from now, and I have to accept that and kind of take my time. I think this winter, yeah, I tried to dial in the nutrition more and, yeah, maybe train more, but small changes, At the end of the day, it's more about getting older, getting those big races in, and then hopefully I can grow from there.
That's great. I totally back that up. When you see guys jumping from rock to rock before something actually has time to, you lay the roots and then you cut the plant before the leaves grow. and then jump to something else. So I suggest you stick with that, come up with a plan your work your plan, and see it to fruition, instead of just jumping from rock to rock. But, we're at that time of year right now, and talking about grand tours. Do you have the possibility, are you on the Tour de France long team? Are you sweating it out there in Nice, waiting for that phone call to pack your suitcase and head to Florence here in a couple weeks?
Sorry, can I just turn a light on real quick? Because it's getting dark.
We noticed that. Everything has about the color of your shirt now. It's turning more and more painted black, as the Rolling Stones would sing.
All right.
Hey, you're a good-looking young man. I never noticed it was so dark all the time.
Too dark.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cheers for
Fantastic.
that. Yeah, literally sweating it out. Actually, it's quite hot here now, but I am waiting for selection. They still haven't told us yet. But of course, since, like I said, I was supposed to do the Giro, but basically the day I crashed, it was like, all right, I want to go to the Tour. How do I get there? I don't know. I think going to nationals and winning really helped me, but I got sick at the Dauphiné, and I had a bit of a rough week there, so I'm not for sure not a shoo-in, but I'm hoping I can go, because it's my dream race, of course. So
what would be the team goal or team strategy going into the Tour? For example, with you, you would have a designated leader, you would go for stage hunting and breakaways, or you have roughly an idea of what the team would try to do?
I really don't know. I think a lot of it hinges on how Richard Carapaz is after his crash in Tour de Suisse, because I think realistically he's the only guy who would go for GC. Whether he wants to or can, that's probably up to him and the team in the next week to decide. But I figure my role would either be helping him in the mountains or going for stages out of breakaways.
Yeah, we need to see the U.S. national champion jersey in the Tour de France this year. That's always something special. It'll give you wings. How about Olympics selection? I mean, not only this year, but the Olympics are going to be in Los Angeles in 2028, and you're from Los Angeles. Are the Olympics on your horizon?
They are not in Paris. I spoke with the director. Of course, I wanted to go, but I shouldn't be there. I didn't have the season I wanted to, and I think the team they're sending will be the best team they can. So, of course, LA, that's a big goal for me, but it's so far down the line. I have to find some stuff to look forward to in between. But born and raised in LA, so for sure I want to be there.
So how easy or difficult is it to start cycling in LA? Because if I remember LA, traffic jams on all 6 lanes, standing still, even at midnight. Everything standing still. How is it to be a cyclist there? And has it improved? Do they have more bike lanes or little parks where kids can go on mountain bikes on a protected little trail? Or how is it these days?
I would say it hasn't changed, probably. I mean, I was basically, I think, the only kid my age in the whole city who rode a bike. Like, there were kids outside of LA in the suburbs, kind of, but I really felt a bit alone in that sense sometimes. I'm lucky I grew up on the sort of northwest side of the city, so I was pretty close to some good riding. Like, I can ride to Malibu from where I grew up in, I don't know, an hour and a half or something. And once you get out there, the riding is honestly amazing. But yeah, in the city, I just got used to running red lights and dealing with, massive traffic jams, just swerving in and out of cars and stuff. Maybe that helped me in the peloton eventually. But it is an interesting place to grow up. I mean, I can't even describe it,
Well, hey, Sean, thank you for your time today. It was great talking to you, great getting to know you. We wish you all the best with not only the Tour de France selection, but a successful Tour de France and successful end of the 2024 season, and hope to have you back on the podcast in the future.
Yeah, thank you guys. Much appreciated. Good to chat with both of you.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. There'll be loads more content popping up here, including more great interviews with top guests like Sean. Keep dropping your questions for us in the comments. And check your description below to find us on social media and Patreon to support the channel.